like art because it's me. It's part of my being. It's this yearning that I have and I always had to create things with my hands, to create something that was not there before, to pull it out of thin air, put elements together, whether it is paints or knitting pieces or, creating silks. For me, it's just such a joy to do that.
I was an comic kid growing up, and then I took a lot of art classes in high school, and art classes in high school, transitioned to art school. And so it was kind of a long lineage of being really art invested. I think maybe part of the Sharpie was watching my kids draw, with magic markers and realizing how efficient pens were amongst all the art materials that are available. I also had a few years of working in a copy shop, like a Kinko's. And so office supplies were sort of standard issue office supplies became part of my working vocabulary.
My work is really about color and light and movement. There's a lot of movement. I don't paint off of pictures or photography. I really paint the live flowers as I see them. And I enjoy the movement of the petals, and nothing is really stagnant. Everything is constantly in motion. And I love working with that, with my art.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of a tension between black and white work and gray work and then color work. And I always want to weigh a little bit more on the color work, but the black and white work's really important to me as well. My hope is that the color is really radiant, that the color, I guess there's a few things that I'm going for, but I want the color to be really bright. I want it to be buoyant, like joyful. I want it to carry kind of a certain amount of energy. I would describe the color as trying to move towards some kind of ecstatic state, like, very happy.
The title is Elysian Flowers, like flowers of the gods, if you want. And I love painting flowers. And so these are flowers, among my favorites, Lysianthus flowers. And I love to make them big in my canvas and really dive in. And what I love here also is the contrast, the whites and the purples, and here also are gold.
One of the pens that I'll use, one of the instruments that I use, or one of the tools, pens that I use, kind of in contrast to the Sharpie fine liner pen, is a reed pen, like a stick carved reed, like a bamboo reed that's been carved in a certain way. And those reed pens are really beautiful because they're hard to control. So the ink sort of runs out of it and drips out of it, and it's hard to it's hard to know what the ink's going to do. And that whole series of drawings on index paper is very much about that sort of balance of control and chaos, and finding a line that sort of runs in a lot of different directions. And so it's important for me to have that as part of my regular drawing routine, is that instrument as well.
Well, there are different pieces in the exhibit. As far as the abstracts go, I would say take a peek at Angel by My Side. It's an abstract painting. It's very recent. I just basically finished it. And it's a large abstract where I just let the colors flow and blend. And it's a lot of sunset pinks and oranges and gold. I love also painting with metallic gold, and I added that. It just gives such a warmth to it. So I really like this one a lot.
Yeah, probably that big orange piece with the flower that's down in the lobby. That's the one that was a last-minute addition to the show, and it's one that came right out of our living room at our house. So it's one that I live with, and if there's one piece in the show that would be not for sale, it might be that piece. So
it's like I just know when a painting is done. Very often I will be in a place where it's like, like I'm not done yet. I am not sure what else does the painting require. So it's as if the energy stops moving, right? And so what I do then is I leave the painting alone. I paint on a different painting. I very often have 2 or 3 paintings that I'm painting on simultaneously, and I give it space. I leave it alone, and And I know that it will come to me. I see a color, I see something, and it's like, wow, that. And I go back to my painting, I add a detail or I add something, and all of a sudden there is this peace. My body is peaceful all of a sudden. This is gone. It's like, wow, okay, so I'm actually really literally breathing, and there's this relaxation and a sort of a contentment. There's this quiet joy, and I'm like, oh yeah, you are done.
Sometimes it's hard to tell. Like sometimes it's super easy to tell because the painting may be set up, the painting or the drawing may be set up to be done in a certain amount of time, or there's a certain color relationship that I'm looking for. I do use, like I said in my talk, I use opaque projectors. So I will set something up and just paint the mark that's been enlarged from the projector. And in that case, it's easy to know when it's done, because once the line is finished, the painting is probably done. But I have had paintings that I've worked on for a number of years that are maybe one or two that are still not finished. So that question is always a constant riddle, I think, in a lot of painting studios, and certainly in mine. I would say they should do all that they can to foster a space that allows for that. They should create the time and space in their regular schedule to do the work they want to do. I would say that early on, that process can be a little fragile, so they may be careful in kind of fostering it. They may be careful in how they start. But I think a regular daily engagement, like if you can draw every day or if you can paint a little bit every day. I had a mentor when I first got to UW-Madison that he had a great quote that he gave me. He said that you can do a lot of damage in an hour a day.
As a friend said to me, Bettina, people should be able to wear your art. So that it's like, see, there's these, sometimes people say something to me, or I might see something somewhere while I'm traveling, and it inspires something in me. It's a color, it's a shape. It's like, wow, could I do this? Glorious Sunflowers is one of my oil paintings, and this is actually the mother, if I may say so, of some of my wearable art designs that are also on display. So I show how I paint at first a painting somewhere in a field of sunflowers. I'm out and about. So there's this oil painting, and then I take the art and design on my computer the design for the fabric. So that's another example. And then there are the silk paintings. Make sure you take a look at these. They are, if a lot of people display them as banners, but they can also be worn as scarves and shawls.
Yeah, one project that I'm looking forward to trying to do in the next year or two is animate some of the ink drawings. And kind of a blunt animation of just the drawings sort of put into like iMovie right next to each other. But the other part of that project would be projecting them.
My dream is to have a huge studio where I can really stretch large silks, sort of create a forest of silks for people to enjoy in an exhibit, you know, be draped on the ceiling and floating down. So that's my dream project.
It's good to see you. Thank you. It's so good. Well,